Hi everyone! It's me! This is another scary story for you all to enjoy. And once again, we're taking inspiration from folklore and fairy tales. So get yourself tucked up, nice and warm. Turn off all of the lights and listen closely to the tale of the little match girl. Once upon a time, right at the end of winter, a poor girl was selling matches on the frosty streets. Her hands were red from holding them, and her feet were sore from running around. She had no proper shoes, and what little money she made, she had to hand over to her mean stepmother. As night came, she walked under the lamplight, rubbing her aching hands together, and trying to keep warm. Each time she passed by a shop window, she could see families eating Christmas dinner, drinking hot cocoa, and celebrating. She wished she could join them, but instead, she was out here shivering and alone. Then she saw an old lady who was wrapped up in furs and walking towards her. The woman smiled kindly and asked if she could buy any match. The girl nodded quickly. She thought maybe now she could go home and have some warmth and food. But the woman asked her to wait a moment longer. She stopped beneath a street lamp and held out her hand. The girl noticed that, although the woman was warmly dressed, she didn't seem to have any match. Then she watched in shock as the woman brought her hands together, and suddenly she was engulfed in flames. The woman screamed in terror, then looked at the girl and beckoned her closer. "Help me!" she cried. "Help me! Put these flames out! If you do, I'll give you anything you wish." Terrified, the girl stepped forward and reached out a hand. Instantly, the flames transferred to her and she screamed as she became engulfed in fire. The woman clapped and laughed maniacally. She said, "You fool! Now I have my revenge on you and all those people who have pitied you for being poor." Then she disappeared, leaving the burning girl standing in the middle of the road. Suddenly, people came running. They tried to beat out the flames with snow, and the girl could hear them saying, "Look! Look! The Human Torch is dancing!" She was terrified as she ran through the streets, her body on fire. But strangely, she wasn't feeling any pain. In fact, she felt really calm. As the first rays of sunlight appeared, she was still running, still on fire, but still not feeling any pain. As the sun rose higher, the flames slowly faded away, revealing her body covered in painful blisters and cuts. She could feel every injury and wound, but she knew that soon she would die. And so she came to a stop and sat down on a nearby doorstep. That's when she heard a voice calling out to her. She turned and saw a beautiful woman standing before her. "Come with me," she beckoned. "Come with me and I will ease your pain." The girl nodded obediently. She was exhausted and wanted to rest. She closed her eyes and drifted away, and when she woke up, she was lying on a soft bed. The woman was kneeling beside her and smiling kindly. "Your suffering has ended," she said gently. "Now you can be at peace." Relieved, the girl nodded sleepily. She was going to sleep forever, but at least she wouldn't feel any more pain. Then she noticed that the room was filled with other children who were playing and laughing. Confused, she sat up and asked where she was. The woman stood up and revealed a pair of wings behind her back. "This is heaven," she explained, "and now you are safe here." The girl looked around in amazement. She had never imagined that there was a place like this. Then she remembered her life on Earth. She thought about how she had been poor and hungry. She remembered how she shivered at night and how she wished she could have a warm home. Most of all, she thought about the terrible pain she had felt when the matchstick had caught fire. She looked back at the woman and asked if she could go back and undo everything that happened. The woman shook her head sadly. "No, child. It is too late. You are here now, so you must stay here." The girl frowned. She didn't want to live in heaven. She wanted to go back and be with her family. She missed her mother, even though she had died when the girl was very young. The girl started crying, begging the woman to allow her to go back. Then suddenly, the room darkened, and a new woman appeared. She was draped in shadows and had horns growing from her head. She snarled at the girl. "So you want to leave, little one? Well, I can help you." The girl wiped away her tears and looked up hopefully. Then the woman threw back her head and laughed. "I am the embodiment of winter, and you belong to me. You failed to make a wish when I gave you the chance. So now you shall suffer for eternity. The woman waved her staff and unleashed a blast of icy wind. The girl screamed as she was frozen solid. Then the woman turned to the other children. "You fools!" she shouted. "Do you think you can escape me? I will turn you all into ice, and then you shall freeze for eternity." The children started screaming and ran away, hiding amongst the clouds and stars. Meanwhile, the girl was trapped. She felt herself turning into a sculpture, hard and unmoving. Then she remembered the woman who had saved her and taken her to heaven. She called out for her, hoping she could help. Just then, the woman appeared and confronted the embodiment of winter. "Let her go," she commanded. "You have no right to keep her here!" The woman threw a fireball at the girl, but the woman deflected it with her staff. "She is mine," she snapped, "and if you interfere, you will join her." "Very well," the woman replied calmly, "but I warn you, this won't be easy." She raised her hands and chanted some words. Then she flicked her wrists, and the room filled with flowers and plants. Vines snaked around the legs of the embodiment of winter, and the flowers grew until they surrounded her. The embodiment of winter screamed in frustration and struggled against the vines until they choked her completely. Then the woman pulled on a flower, and instantly, the embodiment of winter froze in a block of ice. "Quick, child," she said to the girl, "break the ice and free me." The girl hesitated, then reached out a finger and touched the ice. It shattered instantly, and the woman was released. Together, they walked outside and stood underneath the winter sky. The girl could feel the freezing cold seeping through her clothes, but she didn't care. "Thank you for saving me," she told the woman. "I don't want to go back to that life. I want to stay here with you." The woman smiled. "Then it's settled. You shall stay in heaven and live happily ever after." The girl beamed as she joined the other children and played games in the snowy fields. Meanwhile, the woman turned back to face the frozen embodiment of winter. She said, "You should have listened. Now, you must spend the rest of eternity trapped in ice every year. You will watch children playing in the snow, and you will never be able to join them." Then she turned and walked away, leaving the woman to her fate. Narrator, I hope you enjoyed this classic tale. Once again, the moral of the story is to be kind to others. You never know what situation they might be in, and sometimes a helping hand could be all that someone needs. But it's up to you to decide, would you rather live a happy afterlife with the other children? Or would you choose to go back to your life on Earth? Either way, the choice is yours. But now it's time for me to ask you a question. What would you have done if you were the little match girl? Leave your answer in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, remember, be kind, for you never know whose heart you might break. Goodbye.